and saw merrily walk the thing before last summer when the town invited the entire cast of The Lion King, Scar, for a special celebration. That was a blast, thought Kristen blissfully. Imagine a baseball game umpired by Timon and Pumbaa. That was hilarious, with Timon and Pumbaa arguing over who's on first. Kristen fondly remembered Simba and Nala admiring her Persian cat Bungie. You know, Kristen, Nala said to her, Bungie may be just a house cat, but he's every bit lion inside. A pampered and spoiled Bungie. The cat who routinely snubs his food and just lays around all day. Kristen never looked at her cat the same way after what Nala said.
That flashback was extremely pointless, and this story is full of them. It just slows everything down. And I'm getting really sick of the overall tone of this story. It's really like peppy and it's condescending, kind of as if you're supposed to read this to your 5-year-old. I mean, here we go. Imagine a baseball game umpired by Timon and Pumbaa. That was hilarious. I'll bet it was. Maybe you could show us this instead of telling us. Plus, lions can't play baseball.
The hot red bolt of light shot from the radio and sped out the window. Kristen had to duck to avoid being hit. Out the window and across the sky it went, landing somewhere far away. A small explosion could be heard in the distance, sending folks out into the streets to see from where the conflagration came. So much murmuring and alarm.
So much murmuring and alarm! Also, conflagration means giant, disastrous, uncontrollable fire. Not tiny explosion. While a conflagration does indeed call for alarm, I don't think anyone would be murmuring about it. So anyway, Jiminy Cricket goes to Carl's Soda Shop and Diner, and we're introduced to Carl, who serves the best ice cream and burgers around, and doesn't do anything else. We're also introduced to one of these big bad villains who's escaped from the void. I mean, man, it's taken long enough. We're on chapter 2, although it's chapter 3 if you don't count the introduction. So I'm just gonna chapter 2. We're on chapter 2. Let's see who this badass is.
Two men entered the soda shop. I looked these guys up and down, then hightailed it behind the cash register. I knew them right away, Gaston and LeFou. Carl, I whispered, what are they doing here? Isn't it obvious? He replied, this is what I want trying to tell you. The void was breached, and now the town is being run by. Carl didn't have time to finish his sentence as those two villains from Beauty and the Beast strolled up to the counter, sat down, then demanded service. Gaston, a hulking brute known for his enormous conceit, commanded, hey, you, bring me and my friend some refreshment. And don't skim on the stuff.
Gaston, from Beauty and the Beast. I personally wouldn't call this guy dastardly, or even, I wouldn't even call him evil. I mean, I wouldn't even really call him a villain. For most of the movie, he's just a jerk. Surely he can't be that hard to kick out of Walroy. Gaston's one of the few Disney villains who isn't aided by any sort of magic, and he doesn't have superpowers. So can't you, like, wave a gun at him, or arrest him? You know, at the very least, you could just distract him with a mirror and some barbells. But oh no, when that douchebag from Beauty and the Beast wants a hamburger, the entire town quakes in fear and does his bidding. And what the heck is the stuff?
Asterisk, of course, no one dared say a thing because Gaston kept threatening to tell him if we did.
Him. Well, now things are getting mysterious. Who is this fearsome individual, and what terrifying power does he hold over the pure and innocent town of Walroy?
Now, 3 exceptionally awful of Disney's best of the bad took over the town.
So, Gaston, LeFou, and the mystery guy. Because after all, Gaston and LeFou are described as those 2 villains from Beauty and the Beast, not that one villain and his jerk-off friend from Beauty and the Beast. That's a lame lineup. Man.
Then she showed up and even more strange things happened.
So, we have 4 villains now. Gaston, LeFou, the mystery man, and the mystery woman.
All the girls were required, at his order, to work for this woman after school and all weekend. What kind of work? Does the term sweatshop mean anything? The girls spend hours upon hours sewing expensive clothing for this woman's personal wardrobe, not to mention helping maintain his fine garments and tapestries.
for making the kids work at a sweatshop. Well, that is pretty serious. I can see how this will be a major plot point.
Rumors flew all over town that this woman, who had a penchant for furs, was behind the recent disappearance of several family pets. No one knew where they were being kept, but Ben, not wanting to alarm his sister, finally realized that the infamous Cruellaville had the pets kidnapped, just as she did the Dalmatians. Wasn't it obvious? Cruella was keeping the dogs, cats, hamsters, and other various animals under lock and key somewhere in town. She fully intends to make fur garments out of our pets.
Notice how these verb tenses keep switching around, and try to get used to it because it's going to keep happening. Verbs need to agree with each other. Cruella was holding the pets hostage. She intended to make clothing out of them. I'm also going to note that Cruella de Vil's name is spelled wrong the entire way throughout this story. According to the IMDb and various Disney websites, it's D-E space V-I-L, not D-E-V-I-L-L-E. So it's like the author just couldn't be bothered to get it right. Lazy. And I love how fur garments is in all caps. It's just awesome. No, it's not. It sucks. Like Gaston, Cruella de Vil is a villain who is not aided by magic or superpowers. She's just an ordinary human being. And if you're not a Dalmatian puppy, she's really not that threatening. So, where are the police? And why haven't they arrested these people? And what could you possibly make out of a hamster? One earmuff? A mitten for a very small child? A pom-pom? I'm going with pom-pom here. And now we finally meet our main protagonist, Tina, who is a petite, dark-haired woman in her early 30s who works for city council or some such nonsense like that. She comes into Carl's and whines for a long time about how awful these villains are, but of course she takes no action.
You know Founders Day is coming up, and Aurora and Philip are to be guests of honor. The kids have put in so much time planning their presentation and skits. The parade is ready to go. The charity basketball game is to be a thrilling match. Imagine Eric and Phoebus on the team, Quasimodo helping officiate, and Esmeralda and Ariel leading the cheer block. Then there's the bonfire right before the game, not to mention the hayride and dance afterwards. Belle and Doris are bringing the meat. Mrs. Potts and Emma are heading the concession stand. Bambi and Fatline are to present the plaque to Philip and Aurora. For God's sake, the dwarves are coming. So are the Banks and Mary Poppins and Bert and Uncle Albert.
Oh, Founders Day. When all the good Disney characters come by for good, clean, wholesome fun. A charity basketball game, some cheerleading, a bonfire, a hayride, and snacks served by a talking teapot and a dinosaur. And this is what our main concern is for the rest of the story. Founders Day. Bear in mind that the children are being forced to work in a sweatshop and everyone is concerned with Founders Day? Come on, people, priorities! Your children! In a sweatshop! And why aren't there any cops? Why? Just why? You know, maybe because there are no cops, you could call some Disney heroes to come by and take care of the little villain problem. But no, Tina keeps whining and bitching until Jiminy Cricket steps in. The minute Gaston and LeFou walked in, he just ran and hid like a little pansy. He agrees to round up 7 of Disney's best heroes to come and help. And it should be noted that at this point, Jiminy Cricket stops narrating. For no reason and with no explanation, he just stops. It's actually very jarring.
Your voice spoke from behind the cash register. Pardon, ma'am, but I think I can help you. Then the figure emerged from the shadows.
Boom. No more narrating. Earlier it was, I looked these guys up and down, and then I hightailed it behind the cash register. But now it's, a familiar voice spoke up from behind the cash register. There's no reason to change the narrators here. It's like the author forgot that she had a narrator, and then instead of going back and checking, she just decided to keep going. Jiminy Cricket is shocked, and I mean shocked, to discover that Cruella de Vil has abducted the town's pets and is planning to turn them into fur accessories. That bitch!